Good morning, everyone. This is Jeffe Kennedy, author of Epic Fantasy Romance. I'm here with my first cup of coffee. Ah, today is, say it with me, people, it is Friday! Woohoo! June 21st, day after the solstice. And we might get rain here in New Mexico, which is nice. I'm kind of on weird timing today because I just spent the last 2 nights down in Albuquerque with Miss Darynda Jones, who got a double mastectomy for breast cancer, to get rid of her breast cancer, not for it, but against it. And she's doing well. She's in good spirits, came through surgery just fine. She is coming up with metaphors to describe how flat she is now, with both girls gone. And several of you have asked, and yes, Jeffe is going to set up the GoFundMe any minute now. So, but she hasn't done it yet. But it's coming, absolutely coming, and I'll tell you all when hopefully this weekend. Jesus. But so I was really glad I was down there. It was good. I drove back early this morning, and I actually got Starbucks for the drive home. So, yeah. So this isn't actually my point. I know I had a point there. I'm a little scatterbrained. My point is that this is not actually my first cup of coffee. I always feel like I should be honest about that with you, even though I know you all don't care. Second cup of coffee. Let's see. It's been a busy week. I am making progress on Reluctant Wizard. Oh, but first, I did turn around edits on Never the Roses. I got those turned in on Monday, and Deanna praised them lavishly, sincerely, and said that I did a perfect job. So that made me happy. My friend Jim Sorensen, I had writer coffee with him yesterday down in Albuquerque. He didn't have to drive up to Santa Fe for once. He said, well, of course. And I was like, oh, it's not of course. You just never know. I'm never sure anyway. It's like I do my best, and then I just don't know what they'll come back with, right? So I'm very happy about that. She put in for my DNA money and delivery and acceptance money. So that's coming. And so, yeah, cheers. And Monday afternoon, I went for my annual physical, and I passed with flying colors. I've even got most of my test results, and everything looks good, so that's nice. I asked my doctor about a little thing on my forehead that wanted to make sure was not skin cancer or precancerous, and she gave me a referral to a dermatologist. She's like, do you have one? And I said no. And so she gave me the referral, and said that she liked this place, and I can even say Epiphany Dermatology here in Santa Fe. And everybody has always told me that it's just like impossible to get into a dermatologist in New Mexico because, of course, we're very, very sunny, and everybody's always trying to get in to see a dermatologist. And they're like, oh, you have to wait like 6 months and all this kind of thing. So I thought, all right, well, I might as well like get it on my calendar, right? So Tuesday morning, I called to make an appointment, fully anticipating that I would like get voicemail and the runaround and all this kind of thing. And gal answered the phone and she'd already gotten the order from my doctor, and she set me up, and she said, well, actually, we have a cancellation this afternoon at 2:20. Do you want to come in? And I was like, my afternoon happened to be free, so I was like, well, sure, why not? So if you're on video, you can see that I've got makeup on, but he did excise this little spot and biopsied it, and I already got the biopsy back, and it is not cancer, so yay. When I texted David to tell him that it was just not even precancerous, not even a thing, he said, that's good because you don't need more people with cancer in your life. I was thinking, well, yeah, especially me. Especially me. And then I had this little funny spot on my cheek, and he did the freezing on it. He said that would stimulate my body to heal. It was just like a little, he didn't even say what it was, just like a little funny spot that would kind of come and go. So now I'm going to be beautiful and cancer free and healthy and all of these things. And so then Wednesday afternoon, I drove down to Albuquerque, which ended up being a major trial because I-25, which is the main interstate between Santa Fe and Albuquerque, was closed the entire afternoon, both directions, um, due to a crash, which happens sometimes. And there's not a lot of other ways to go. And what was funny is I went directly from my nail appointment, and my I was getting my nails done and talking to my nail gal, who apparently I've been going to for 9 years now. She's been keeping track. So it's like, she's like, we're growing old together. And I was like, I was going to say we've grown up together, but she's kind of accurate. um, but then the client next to me, she turns to me and she's like, you're driving to Albuquerque today? And she's got this big smile on her face, and she's laughing a little bit. But I mean, if you're on video, you could see, I mean, she's like, are you driving to Albuquerque today? And I said, yeah, after this. And she says, I-25 is closed in both directions. And it's like, I wanted to ask her, why do you look so happy telling me this news when you know that this is going to fuck up my life? And I don't know if it's like, I think some people laugh or smile out of like nervousness or something, or I don't know. It was weird. I don't know what to think of that. But I restrained my cantankerous self, and I was just like, all right, well, thank you for telling me. And Ruby, my nail gal, saying, well, you could take Highway 14 down. And I said, yeah, I know. And I, put it into my phone, and Google Maps actually rerouted me down Highway 14, which means that instead of taking 45 minutes to get to the hotel to meet Darynda for dinner, it ended up taking me an hour and 45 minutes because, of course, that road takes like an hour and a half. And then, of course, everybody was going down 14, which is just this little 2-lane highway that's very scenic. It was, it's very lovely. And I've gone that way before just for fun. But it was not fun. And by the time I got there, I was aggravated. And then I get to the hotel. They've already started dinner without me. I told her, I'm like, just go ahead and I'll join you. And so I'm unloading my stuff from the car. I really have to pee after an hour and 45 minutes in the car. And I'm unloading my stuff. All I want to do is check in and pee. And this man pops up behind me. And I actually was startled enough that I yipped. I'm like, ah. And he says, oh, I'm sorry. He said, but I can help you with your bags. And no, it's a Comfort Inn. This is not the concierge, not the Bell, anything like that. And he's like, let me help you with your bags. And I said, no, thank you. I'm fine. And he said, oh, I don't know. You've got a lot of bags. And it's like, okay, so reader, I had my little dash bag, my laptop bag, a bag with a bottle of wine in it. It's great because it keeps it cold. You keep it in the freezer, and it's got like gel inside that freezes. And so I had that with my wine in it, and a tote bag with groceries, right? And my purse. But still, he's like, he says, I've got a luggage cart right here. I can help you. And I said, no, thank you. And he said, really, I'm happy to help you. And I'm like, no, thank you. I am fine. And he was so, I don't know, it was creepy. I didn't like it. And I was already not in a great mood. I was like, just get out of my face, weird dude, who was also wearing a shirt that said that contrails are biological warfare. So there we are. And then I check in, and this same guy is in front of me, and he's like trying to change his room, and the guy behind the desk can't figure out how to change his room, and the guy behind the desk has to like go upstairs to check to see if this other room is clean so he can move him to that one. And I swear it took like 20 minutes for me to check in. And I also wanted to say to Mr. Contrails or chemical warfare, that, if you're so freaking considerate, why don't you say, why don't we let this nice lady check in before we go through this long, laborious process of me changing my room? And he kept trying to explain, like, well, I put my phone number in and I told her, and it's like, nobody wants to hear your story. So I was aggravated. Um, but all's well. Got to spend time with Darynda that evening. That was lovely. She had her surgery very, very early Thursday morning. Uh, got back to the hotel in the afternoon. I didn't see her until evening, however, because she wasn't feeling good. She was nauseated and so forth. Uh, but then I spent a couple hours with her yesterday evening telling her all the writer gossip, and so that was fun. It was one of the things I learned from Grace Draven, and when she was going through her stuff, when we would talk, she would say, she was done with talking about her cancer and how she felt. All she wanted was to hear the writer gossip. So that was what we did. And I got to have brunch with Jim Sorensen in the morning. And then because Darynda still wasn't feeling good, I went out and had happy hour with Jim and his wife, Ming Lee, and we had really interesting conversations. So that was rewarding. And I have been working on Reluctant Wizard. I'm at about 41,000 words. Minerva Spencer has been reading it for me so far, and she has notes for me on the beginning. It sounds like the first 5 chapters are a little slow, so I may end up chopping those up. But then she said it's just streaming along on Page Turner. So yay. And I actually set up the pre-order for Reluctant Wizard. It is set to release on August 27th, and Assistant Corrine is going to send out the newsletter on that, but I don't think she has yet. Okay, I asked her. She's been working on it, but she's having a really hard time, has not been feeling well due to what is probably long COVID. Yeah. So she's not braining very well. But we're doing the cover reveal, and that pre-order is set up for August 27th. So I will put that in the show notes and post it soon. Let's see what she says. Well, she read it, but she has not yet replied. Yeah, so that's coming. I have that. Those of you who are always telling me to take what I need to get this done, you will note that August 27th is a while away, and I just have it set up for if I'm not writing more than 2,000 words a day. So we shall see. Now that Never the Roses edits are turned in, that is something off my mind. And Agent Sarah hasn't sent me back notes on First Order of the Fey Realms yet. So I'm just going to concentrate on this book. And hopefully it'll start going faster. But you can pre-order it at a low price. Price will go up on release day, but it will also go into Kindle Unlimited on release day. So if you are buying on a different platform, do make sure to pre-order, because after release day, I'll be taking it down from those places. Let's see. Oh, and so I want to talk about a little bit about some misconceptions about traditional publishing. And I do apologize if you are here for this information and just had to listen to all the minutia of my life and health and friends' health. Yeah, I apologize for that. But that is the brand here at First Cup of Coffee. You have to sit through the small talk, unfortunately. So, yeah, there's, as always on Threads, discourse. I notice that a lot of people, when they're using the word discourse, that they're using disc and horse emojis instead, and I don't know why. I should ask. But I've seen people talking about 6-figure book deals and what they do and don't mean. And one thing that I saw, I don't think I want to look it up. I know that I'm saying this a lot on here about Threads, is that obviously things get surfaced that are debatable, maybe, that create the discourse. Um, Corrine replied and said that the newsletter will probably go out Monday. Um, she's still not feeling good. She's also sick. She got like a lung thing, not COVID, from her partner. So, sorry, Corrine. Um, okay, focusing on this. I saw this person talking about, like how the six-figure deal gets split up into these little chunks of money, and it's not as good as it sounds. And I think I mentioned this before. And, it's like, yeah, people, you have to budget. But one thing she said, I believe it was she, was that, oh, dang it, I am going to look. I couldn't find it. I promise to stay on topic now. But anyway, this one gal said, and she was being cute, right? But she is like, when you have a trad deal, this, and this, and it's like gambling. That was what her analogy was, that it's like gambling, and, money that you're willing to lose, and you don't know how well the book is going to do because so much of it depends on luck, and that's true, and much depends on how much they push it, and which is also true. And then she said, oh, and by the way, the house always wins. And it's like, okay, clever, extend the analogy, and also not true. This idea that some people like to perpetuate of traditional publishing being the enemy is really unfair. And I know that people have bad experiences in traditional publishing. Sometimes things don't go well. But there's this truth about human nature that people enjoy telling the bad stories, right? I was telling you a lot of the bad stories of what happened to me this week. Maybe some good stories too, but like telling you of my aggravation on the drive and so forth was partially venting, but also it's more interesting than more interesting, right? Like you may not have remembered the part where I talked about that it is a really beautiful scenic drive that I sometimes do for fun. Traditional publishing is not the enemy. A casino is not your friend, right? A casino is not there because they want to give away money. They're there to make money, to take your money. And yes, they're set up so that the house always wins. And that is just the truth of gambling, of some kinds of business enterprises. Traditional publishing is not that kind of business enterprise. It truly is populated by people who work in the business because they love books and reading. And I can't overemphasize that. You hear all these stories of people getting screwed over, and orphaned by their editor, and the publishing house decided to promote someone else's book instead, and all of this kind of thing. And like even the worst editors I've had, and I was telling that story about the one who didn't let me review the changes she made to my book, which was totally unethical. She, when I first met her, she was telling me a story about like why she became an editor and the love of books and writing. So yes, you're going to meet incompetent people. You're going to have bad luck. Sometimes traditional publishing doesn't work out, but sometimes self-publishing doesn't work out. And I'm trying to think of how to phrase this, sorry. We don't really hear people excoriating themselves for self-publishing not working out, right? Is there anyone to blame there except yourself? And, it's hard to take that responsibility. And sometimes it's just luck. Sometimes it has to do with, that we are selling people something that comes out of our creative selves, and maybe they don't want to buy it. And you can't make them, and you can't make people like a thing. And sometimes only a few people like a thing, and that's just how life goes. So that is where I am at on that. If you were only here for that nugget amidst the chatter, hopefully it was still useful. And I hope you all have a great weekend, and I will talk to you all on Monday. You all take care. Bye bye.